Kia ora koutou. Today we are doing lesson 5 of 1.9 genetics. We are looking today at mitosis, which you will not know what that is yet, but soon you will find out. So by the end of today, you should be able to describe the purpose of cell division, which we use the acronym GRR or GRRR. Explain the purpose of mitosis and meiosis specifically. Explain the main steps of mitosis and the product of mitosis. Tomorrow we will look at meiosis. I know they sound the same, they are very different. So mitosis and meiosis are both types of cell division. That just means that the cells are replicating and dividing and making more copies of themselves. And the reason that they need to do this, or the 4 reasons, are that acronym GRR: growth, repair, replacement, and reproduction. So when we are growing, we need to make more cells. If we injure ourselves and have to repair a tissue, if we lose cells like hair falling out or skin falling off, that we need to replace them. And then obviously for reproduction. So this is what cell or mitosis, cell division, looks like kind of under a microscope. So we've got one cell, that orange part in the middle is the nucleus, and what happens is that the nucleus is the first bit to split off. So these little red balls inside there are what the chromosomes kind of look like. So the chromosomes and then the nucleus divide, or they replicate first and then they divide. And then slowly the main cell starts to bud off from itself until eventually there are full splits between the 2 cells, and we get basically 2 identical cells that are made. This is kind of a animated model of this picture, so this is like more realistic. This is an animated version. So we have 2 types of cell division we need to talk about: mitosis and meiosis, or meiosis. We will learn about meiosis tomorrow. So today we're looking at mitosis. Mitosis is the production of clones. So it's basically identical body cells. So they look exactly the same, they have exactly the same DNA. Meiosis makes different cells, and we'll talk about that in the next lesson. So the purpose of both of these types of cell division comes back to the GRRR, but as from before. So mitosis is the growth, repair, and replacement. Meiosis is the reproduction part. So we call the body cells somatic cells. So that is where most of mitosis happens. The way we remember this is we call it mitosis. So toe is a somatic cell, it's part of your body. Whereas meiosis only happens in the gametes. The gametes are the sperm and the egg, so the reproductive cells. And the way that I remember that is me and sis, so like me and my sister, so gametes make you and your siblings via reproduction. So the full definition for mitosis is cell division in somatic cells, so body cells, which produces 2 identical daughter cells, each with a full set of chromosomes, which is 23 pairs. Mitosis is happening all the time inside our bodies, even though you don't really realize it. It's just part of normal maintenance of our body. Every day, every minute of every day, cells are getting injured, or we are trying to grow new hair, grow new skin, all those sorts of things. Mitosis happens without us even thinking or realizing. And if something abnormal happens, like an injury or a growth spurt, mitosis will increase to speed up and make more cells. So the rate of mitosis can vary throughout your lifetime. Okay, this is a really good video. If you want to go back and hear a different explanation of it, we'll just skip past for now. Okay, now we're going to look at the different steps of mitosis. You don't need to know a huge amount of detail on these. If you do describe it, it's probably going to be merit and excellence points, but it's good to know anyway. You do need to know kind of the 1 point for each step. So like for example, this one would be DNA replication. And then if you want to merit in excellence, you'd go on to explain more detail about what that involves. So we're going to make a new cell. We want it to have a full copy of the DNA so that it can make its own proteins and it's got its own genes and everything. So if we're going to split ourselves in half, we need to replicate or copy that DNA. Every single cell has to have a full copy of the genetic code, otherwise it cannot survive. So the cell starts with 23 pairs or 46 individual chromosomes. In a pair, each chromosome is called a chromatid. So at the start, there's only one chromatid. When we copy them, we still say we have 46 chromosomes. But now that we've copied them, so they will have 92 chromatids. And then after mitosis, it's going to split in half and only 46 will be left. So the numbers are a little bit tricky to wrap your head around, but that is what they're talking about. So we start with 46, we copy them all, so then we get 92, and then we're going to split in half again, so each new cell will have 46. So here's another picture showing that. So this is a chromosome at the start. It's just got one chromatid. It gets duplicated. This little white dot in the middle is called a centromere. It's kind of like a rubber band holding them together. They're called sister chromatids at that point because they're copies of each other. And then mitosis happens and they get split apart, and one of each chromatid will go into the new cell. So after DNA has been replicated, we have the second step, which is the formation of spindle fibers. So what happens is that the chromosomes line up on the equator, which is the middle of the cell, and these little yellow spindle fibers form at the poles of the cell, which are like the ends or the edges. They will weave their way through to the middle where the chromosomes are lined up. They will attach onto that centromere, which is this little rubber band holding them together, and they will pull the chromosomes to the ends of the cell. This is what it looks like in the next step. So you can see the spindle fibers have attached to the centromeres. They pull the chromosomes apart. So each of those chromatids, so sister chromatids, will be pulled apart. And they will go to the ends of the cell. And then as they're doing that, this cell membrane, this greeny blue bit, is going to start pinching off to separate the two new cells. So at the end of mitosis, we are left with two identical daughter cells that each contain an identical copy of the 23 chromosomes that we originally had. This is super, super, super important because we need that cell to do exactly the same job as the original cell. So it needs to have all of the DNA to produce those same proteins. Because remember, the function or the purpose of mitosis is for growth, repair, and replacement. So if we're growing, repairing, or replacing, we need that cell to do exactly the same job. That is why it has to be identical daughter cells. They can also be called clones, anything that will describe that they are genetically identical. And we'll just go back quickly to that first picture. So this is where the DNA is being replicated. The spindle fibers will be forming at the edges. The centromeres will be being pulled apart, and then as those two sets of chromosomes get pulled apart, that membrane starts to pinch off, and then eventually it will make those two full daughter cells. Hopefully that makes sense. Check your daily work plan for what you should do next, and then tomorrow we will go on to meiosis.